All right, welcome to another episode of the Spurs Rewind. We're going to be joined today by our good friends and our good co-workers here that we have. We have John Diaz joining us from Houston, Texas. We're on hiatus because me and John were experiencing the blizzard that was 2021, and it was no bueno. We had no fun, no water, no electricity. Not the way that you want to spend a week, right, John?
That was a rough week. No running water. I think that was the worst.
Horrible, dude. You can The thing is, when you have no water, you can't flush your toilet. So I'll leave that
Yep.
to the imagination. And then no electricity, so you're freezing your butt off. And then you what? Wasn't it fun where you get like 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes of electricity, maybe 10? So then
Yo,
you're
no, I was a lucky one. I got a couple of hours of
oh
electricity,
wow.
and I'd be in there trying to do like everything I could, and I was afraid like if I turn the Xbox on, is the whole city gonna go black? Like what's gonna happen here?
Auxiliary power. Just to keep your Xbox on.
Yep.
I was trying to see how fast I could cook some ramen noodle in like 10 minutes in the microwave. Maybe I get a hot pocket in there somewhere, but it was bad, dude. I feel for everybody having to deal with this. And now with the thaw, we're having to deal with a bunch of bursted pipes and
Yep.
roof damage. I had my roof leaking. I had to get the guys out here to check that and fix that today.
No.
Not fun here for us Texans, but Ben, how are you doing, sir? He's the other counterpart here for the
Ben's all
Spurs Rewind.
tanned and everything. He
I
doesn't
know.
care.
Did you take a trip
Calm
to
down.
Cancun?
Tan, I don't. Come on now.
Did you take a trip to Cancun, Ben?
Okay, all right. Oh, there it is. I don't have enough children to force me to do that.
So how are you doing, man?
I'm great. I did not lose power because I live in Atlanta. We're stupid about everything else, and also we could have told you how bad it was after our snowpocalypse in 2014, where we got all of I think half a foot of snow, but the entire city shut down for a week because nobody knew what to do with their hands. So yeah, I mean, I get it. It's bad. I feel for you guys. It is horrific, and it was mismanaged. But you know what? This is not a show about politics, so I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. And it's a special day too because it's Ben's birthday. He is yet
Yeah.
again
Oh, man.
28. I think this is the third year in a row now that he's 28 years old. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Working on it. Yeah.
All right. So moving on here, we're going to go ahead and talk about some San Antonio Spurs basketball. And what we're going to go ahead and bring up right now are some NBA All-Star snubs. Yes, the Spurs, not one single Spur made it to the NBA All-Star game for 2021. And I don't think anybody was surprised. While DeMar DeRozan did have a really good season, you cannot overlook his stats. He's been one of the better San Antonio Spurs players that we've had, been one of the most consistent. You would think at least he would get voted into the reserves because that's the reserves that voting is a little bit different because it's based on coaching. Not so much the media and the popularity nonsense that goes on with that. But no, it was just not meant to be. I think Keldon Johnson was the third most popular for voting amongst Spurs fans. So, that's a thing. Maybe one day he can get up there. So you have that to as a consolation prize. But it just was not meant to be. We had some opportunities. We had hope hearing that Anthony Davis was injured, but no, they gave that slot to Devin Booker. He wasn't happy about it anyway, so I think they should have given it to DeMar DeRozan. Go on Twitter and see what he said. That he's tripping. Anyway, Ben, give us your thoughts on the NBA All-Star snub. Because the Spurs not a single Spur made it, but more than that, lay it on us, man, because I know you got some things to say about the NBA All-Star voting.
Yeah. So you can certainly make a case for DeMar DeRozan making the All Star game. He's having a great year, one of his best years as a Spur. And I was actually looking through the list with a buddy the other day, and I'm kind of thinking, man, it is hard to make a case for DeRozan over one of these other guards. I mean, I get it. He's having a great year. There's no denying that. I'm not here to say he's playing like garbage or anything like that, but I mean, I don't know if he's having a better year than Chris Paul is or some of the other West guards. So it's tough. But I also think that, and we talked about this before the show started, the voting for the All-Star game, allowing the fans to have that much power in voting, I think is insane, especially in a day and age where there are a lot of players' contracts where they have incentives tied to making all-star games. You make you make an X amount of bonus money if you make an all-star game. And for the fans to decide that, I think is unfair, especially because there are so many fans out there who watch one or two games. They're casuals, as the term is being used now. But you have a lot of casuals out there who don't really watch either very many games or they don't watch more than one team play. And so they obviously have a very biased opinion, and they're going to always vote for their people. And you're always going to have the most popular players in the league. And frankly, it's always going to be Lakers players because the Lakers are the franchise that they are. So they're always going to have popular players. Even in years where they're terrible, they're going to have popular players. And that's not to say LeBron doesn't deserve it. He absolutely does. So let's not get things twisted here either. All right. And AD was having a good year until he got injured. He deserved it. But there are always going to be franchises that, because they are who they are, because they're storied franchises, are always going to have players who are more popular than other players. And because the Spurs basically don't do full-out media blitzes for all of their players, their guys don't get picked. And, I think that's why coaches and the media need to be the ones who have the biggest votes for the All-Star game. They are actually watching every team. They're watching as many games as possible. They understand the landscape of the NBA better than normal fans.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think about Chris Paul being up there, leading the way, so to speak, I think he was just behind James Harden and Phoenix Suns, the Phoenix Suns guard, of course, too. Chris Paul, they led the list of the 14 players selected by the NBA. But, you have your usuals, your Durants and LeBron, the usual suspects. But Chris Paul, the OG, what do you think about that?
He's having a great year. He's averaging almost 17 points a game, almost 9 assists, 4.5 rebounds. He's shooting almost 40% from three. He's shooting 49% from the field overall. And the Suns are having a nice year. So it's hard to argue against him. They're playing pretty well right now, and he's kind of gotten Devin Booker almost to the next level. And I don't know if Devin Booker was ever going to get there on his own. And so going out and getting a Chris Paul's not really taking a step back, but he is kind of out there and saying, I'll get us jump started when you need me, but really, this is Devin Booker's team. I'm just going to try and set him up. And I'm going to try and make him look good. And he's done that. And it's also made everyone else on the team look good. So, I think Chris Paul is an all-star. I think it's a good pick. I don't have any problems with it.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think he deserved to be an all-star. And, he's in the latter part of career. So good for him, One last hurrah. You never know when it could be your last one. Much like same thing happened with LaMarcus Aldridge. He got in there by default, but hey, at least he still was there, for the All-Star game. We'll go ahead and go to you, John. What do you think about the All-Star voting? And more importantly, what do you think about the Spurs getting snubbed?
I have a lot of thoughts on it. And I would say, first of all, I think if you could only pick one Suns player, I think Booker over Paul would have been the way to go. The Suns have better numbers. I think their net rating is 14 with Chris Paul and without Devin Booker. And it's 13 with Devin Booker and without Chris Paul. And then it's just a +1 when they're together. But Chris Paul has some of the best numbers he's had since he was a Clipper. And obviously, it's just efficiency-wise with him and in the latter part of his career. But you also can't have the guy who's the president of the Players Association not get into the All-Star game. It's not happening.
Y'all want your bonuses.
Yeah, exactly. You want that CBA, all that negotiating and stuff. There's a reason behind it. And, it sucks that DeMar didn't get it. He obviously deserved it, but and then Zion, I think the case against Zion would be the Pelicans record. And that's not his problem. That's not Brandon Ingram's fault either. That team underachieved with Anthony Davis. So why are you surprised that they're underachieving with Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson? So I can't wait to watch Zion just run pick and rolls and shoot nothing but inside the paint buckets all game, all-star game long, because I think he's taken like 9 shots outside of the paint all of February and made 3 of them.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. But I give credit to Zion because he's stayed really healthy this year. He's played a ton of minutes. He almost played, I think, 41 minutes the other night.
Yeah.
So
and I think he lost
that was
weight too, right?
Yeah, he looks like a lot better. So, maybe someone else sits out. I would say this because I know we're going to touch on it. I'm actually glad DeMar's not going to be playing in the All-Star game now that we've seen the second half of the Spurs schedule, because give those guys all the vacation they can handle, because it doesn't look good for, like, coming up through May.
Yeah, we're going to get into the schedule, and we might burst the bubble for a lot of Spurs fans for the playoff hopes, but we'll get into that definitely. But it is what it is at this point. The NBA All-Star game is going to have a different look, no doubt. They're going to have the usual, skills challenge, 3-point shooting contest. I think this time they're going to have the dunk contest at halftime, which is kind of a switch up there, I guess. But
nice halftime nap.
Yeah, nice halftime nap. Because let's face it, that dunk contest has just gotten stagnant. It's boring. It doesn't really excite you like it did
outside
of
2 years, past probably 5 or 6. It's really not been that good. And both those years, Aaron Gordon was robbed.
He was. When you can jump over the mascot and you're just like sitting in the air, I mean, come on, bro.
Hold on. He jumped over the mascot, who was also spinning around on one of those scooters. What are we judging anymore? Also,
I don't even know.
Dwayne Wade is now the bane of my existence because of that last dunk
He's
contest.
the Russian judge.
Yep,
he's
100%.
He gave his Miami Heat guy a better grade than he deserved.
You know what they need to get in? You know who they need to get in there as a judge? That'd be freaking hilarious. Snoop Dogg, dude. I'm telling you, man.
Oh my god.
He would have you rolling.
No pun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude. Like when he called the Mike Tyson
street.
fight, when he called that Mike Tyson fight, I was laughing.
Was great.
My stomach hurt. He's like, look at these guys looking like 2 uncles fighting at the barbecue. Snoop Dogg's a fool. I would like to see him as a judge and, as a ringside announcer. I think, or sideline announcer, should I say. I think that would be hilarious.
For sure.
He'd be more fun to watch and listen to than Charles Barkley, I tell you that. I'm already tired of Charles. He's already had too much.
That's terrible.
Too much airtime.
How dare you say that?
Because he's always talking about the big women here that we have in San Antonio. I'm like, come on, Charles, please.
He doesn't have any material at this point. I think he's just doing the job for the paycheck.
I think so, because he brings that up out of nowhere. Like they're not even talking about the Spurs. They can be talking about Minnesota and the Lakers. Oh, by the way, I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
Somebody pull the hook on him, man.
Somebody, listen, there's going to be a big enough group that shames him that he's going to have to issue another apology. He's going to have to mean it. He's going to actually have to stop saying stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to in today's day and age, there will be a group on Twitter who absolutely annihilates him.
But they could just cut the mic. It's that simple, man.
I just think he's at the point where no one takes him seriously. I think he's just been doing that for so long that you just he's like the class clown at this point. You just hear him and he just talks and that's it.
Pretty much, dude. I'd probably have to agree with that assumption. But moving on here, let's go ahead and also talk about the Spurs wetting the bed. They lost a close one to OKC, 102-99. Yes, we were without a lot of our players, our key players. DeMar is dealing with the death of his father, so our prayers and thoughts are with him. He's doing what he needs to do, take care of his family right now. So I'm sure that they're not pressuring him to come back. He has to take time, be with his family right now. But everybody else, due to the COVID-19 safety protocols, we're missing a lot of people. So they basically called up Luka and Trey and said, hey, we need bodies out there on the court. We're going to forfeit this one. So, I mean, the Spurs did the best that they could. They kind of fell behind a little bit, got back into the game again. Looked like, hey, they might actually pull this one out, but it just wasn't meant to be. And before everybody tears into Patty. It wasn't all Patty's fault. Yes, he double dribbled at the end of the game, but it shouldn't even have come to that. Let's be real here. Once again, the Spurs make big mistakes down the stretch, especially in crunch time with their defensive rotations, their defensive sets. I don't know how many times we've already seen this happen where they lose games because they just leave guys wide open. I mean, there's not even a soul around them. The guy can sit down on a chair, drink a soda, eat a sandwich, and then take a three, an uncontested three. I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. But, I mean, it is what it is this year. Spurs fans are getting mad at Patty, but it's not all his fault. They live and die as a team, So, John, what do you got to say about this disheartening loss?
Just seeing Lou Dort wide open in the corner. So I'll go back and say this. I was watching the Bucks play a couple nights ago. I forgot who they were playing, but our old pal Bryn Forbes hits a three.
Oh, Lord.
And now he's got his season high of the game, and he's pumped up. He's celebrating. He goes back down the court, and everyone is just standing with him, all the defenders, and his guy's in the opposite corner. Bam, wide open three, timeout. And I'm like, yep, I don't miss that. But hey, it doesn't matter because he's not here anymore. And the Spurs did it with the game on the line. At least Milwaukee was up 20. And that's all on Jakob, honestly. There's no reason for you. I tweeted it out. You are a huge human being. Al Horford is a 35-year-old grown-ass man.
On one leg.
And on one leg. And you try to go out there like you're Kawhi Leonard and try to deny him the ball and maybe try to tip it away from him. For what? What is the point of just like trying to stop him? There was like 3 seconds left. All you had to do was just get in front of the guy, make him pass the ball. But no, and then Patty freaks out and overhelps, and here he goes, Lou Dort hitting the three to win the game. And the moment that shot went up, I was just like, oh, this is over. Okay. I didn't really want overtime anyway. They've got 10 bodies out there. They probably would have gotten blitzed and let SGA put up 60. So maybe it was for the better to just end it on that three. But I think it's going to be a rough stretch, at least for another couple games or so. I'm really... That starting lineup with Trey Lyles at the small forward, not ideal.
No bueno.
And I'm already kind of sold on Keita Bates-Diop taking his roster spot, but we'll save that for another podcast, and we'll just blame Jakob for this one.
Oh, Lord. Well, you know what? You want to blame Jakob. Jakob missed a couple bunnies there as well. Even Sean Elliott said it again. Dunk the ball, Jakob. What are you doing, bro? He's killing me, man. It's like, why is
It's watching Rasho Nesterovic all over again.
The church boy. They used to call him the church boy. They used to call him the church boy, Rasho, back in the day because he looked like that, But Jakob dunked the ball, dude. Like, he's settling for, I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick little layup. If he would have dunked that ball instead of laying it in, he would have got the and one. He would have went to the line. Maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't, but at least he gets the opportunity. You could have the Spurs possibly could have won the game based on if maybe Jakob dunks the ball and gets the and ones, make some of those, but it's something that you just can't make him do. I don't know what he's going to have to do to get that mean streak to be more aggressive, be more assertive. And it's like you said, John, he's one of the biggest guys out there on the court. Dominate, man. Punish people when you get those mismatches, especially in the low post. Just go to work. Because you know damn well LaMarcus ain't going to do nothing. He's going to settle for the little jump shot, instead of punishing somebody in the low post.
Defending from 15 feet away with his hand up.
Oh, my God, dude. He kills me, man. Have you seen the way he plays defense? He doesn't even try. He just moves his hands. He just moves the hands.
Oh, there goes the ball.
He's like the sign guy on the corner. He's just trying to get your attention with all this movement for nothing.
I'm going to move my hands. He's robotic. He moves his hands, but the body does not move from the waist down. It's like you can't just move your hands. You got to move. You got to get that lateral movement. I just think he's incapable of doing that, or he just doesn't care. One of the two. But, Ben, let's shoot to you next, sir. What do you think about this horrendous loss for the San Antonio Spurs? Do you think this loss is going to be one of many that will come back and haunt us.
I don't know about coming back to haunt the Spurs, but I think it's going to be one of many, having seen their second half schedule. But I mean, this was it's hard to have losses like this and say, oh, it's a moral victory because we only had 10 guys. We had a rookie and we had another guy who's playing in the G League. Maybe we're not really sure they were ready for this moment. We found out more of what they're about. We had a chance to win the game. We didn't win the game, but you know what? If there was going to be a guy that beats you, you'd rather it be Lou Dort than an actual shooter, like leaving someone open like SGA or leaving someone open like Darius Baisley. So, the Spurs got Dorted. It happens. It happens to the best and the worst of us. It just happens. You hate to see it, but Lou Dort's going to have his moments every now and then, and you're gonna hate him. But in the end, it's going to be. But what else did he do that game?
Not much.
So you just kind of have to live with it. And I think if there are going to be more losses like this one where the Spurs have issues executing at the end of games, I think there's going to be a lot of learning opportunities for these younger players, and they're going to come back next year and say, okay, we've seen this before. I really hate how this ended the last season. Let's not do that again. So hopefully you get an opportunity like that to come along, and if it happens again this season, hopefully they win the next time. They already learned their mistake. They already learned from their mistakes.
You would think they would learn from their mistakes, but I keep seeing them make the same damn mistakes over and over.
Well,
I attribute
some of that
it to
is the defense.
Yes,
they just like John was saying. I mean, there are guys who are just getting left open,
wide open,
which doesn't make sense. It's why are those guys being left wide open? You don't need to overhelp. You have Jakob Poeltl in the paint, who is altering, blocking, and dissuading people from shooting at the rim. Yep. Go out and defend the three and funnel people. Funnel them to Jakob Poeltl. He loves that stuff. You just have to make sure if you let your guy go to him, you cover his backside so you can get to his guy on a recovery, or you can go and get the rebound to actually end the possession.
That help
I
defense.
think that's one of the biggest issues for this team. They don't finish the possession. You get a Jakob Poeltl block, but then the other team gets the rebound, immediately passes it out, and they get an open three. Yep. Best time to shoot a three is off an offensive rebound.
Yeah,
you have to limit those.
Yeah, all it takes is just that one mistake from the defense, and you see that happen, and you can go back and you can rewind the tape and look at the play, and you'll see where it breaks down. It's just one player out of position or late on an assignment, and that's it. He gets caught trying to go under the screen or over the screen, gets caught up. The guy just uses that screen, gets that separation, wide open three, or they get caught trying to overhelp. You see that a lot this season, where they just get caught up doing that. Before you know it, they lose their man, wide open, usually in the corner, corner three or beyond the arc, a little bit past the middle, of the 3-point arc, a little to the right or to the left. I mean, that shot is always money because the Spurs are just late on the rotations. So you just want to see them clean some of that up. But I attribute it a lot to them just being a little bit inexperienced from some of the younger players. I think the veterans at times get caught trying to overhelp because of the mistakes that some of the younger core is making. It's frustrating for us to watch, and we're like, why do they keep doing that? They keep doing that because some of the younger players that we have are making bad decisions, but it's part of the growing process. So it's going to happen again and again, more often than not. One of the things I want to ask you guys about too is, what did you think about Luka Samanic and Trey Jones? They were recalled from the Austin Spurs. They played last night. I mean, they didn't have like stellar games. I mean, but when they did play, they did produce, I think, 4 points each. I think Luka played something like 19 minutes and Trey 12 minutes. And they had some decent, buckets that they were able to produce for the team. They just didn't have they weren't double-digit scores, but they were just bodies out there because we needed somebody out there on the court in order to play the game because God knows that everybody else is still in that COVID protocol, safety protocol. But what did you think about them? We'll start with you, John.
I know Spurs fans are really excited with the numbers that they put up in the G League bubble and the Gubble. And I will take partial blame with, our podcast and with a lot of the Austin Spurs hype. But I mean, if you're not expecting these guys to do much, you should just limit your expectations, period. Trey Jones doesn't have a shot. The only three he made in the Gubble was a half-court heave. And teams are going to learn to just not just go under pick and rolls and sag off of him. He's a great distributor against G League teams where there's not a lot of communication, not a lot of defense. That's not the case in the NBA. You're not going to see these 15, 16 assist games like that. That's going to come with time. And he's at least a decent floor general, but I shouldn't think that he's going to be on that floor. I mean, the moment if Derek White or anyone, just one person gets cleared out of that guard rotation, I don't expect to see Trey Jones playing another minute unless it's like a back-to-back scenario or another injury scenario. Luke, on the other hand, I would like to see more on the floor just to see him get that level of comfort that he had in the G League, and he showed a little bit of it last night. There's going to be a lot of growing pains, especially with his lack of finishing skill. He has what Jakob should have, which is that irrational confidence when he's finishing, just not the strength and not the footwork and not the patience. Jakob has a lot of the other things that you need except for the physicality and that 1-2 to dunk the ball. Luke, on the other hand, will try to Euro and try to just put a shoulder into you and back you down. And it's like, okay, you're either going to offensive foul or he's going to throw off something really off balance, kind of like a Lonnie Walker finishing around the rim. So it's just, I'd love to see him stretch the floor. I'd love to see him take Trey Lyles' minutes, but Trey Lyles isn't getting any minutes until last night. That's kind of surprising that, Trey was just completely falling out of the rotation because I think that's where Luka could probably benefit the most. And since you don't even have either one of those, I just find it hard that I understand the Spurs brought him back from Orlando because they needed 8 guys minimum. You just hope it's not detrimental to their development moving forward because bubble's going to be over in 2-3 weeks. And then it's the playoffs. Like, are they going to go back if we get a full team? Are they going to stay here? What's the point of having them stay after the All-Star break? Granted, like that's when the G League playoffs will begin, and maybe Austin could compete for a championship, a little bubble championship, which would be really cool. But it really sucks because it feels like the whole COVID episode that the Spurs have gone through is going to hurt their development more than anything. Yeah,
and in the absence of both Trey and Luka, Spurs have lost some games. They lost against Salt Lake City 113-106, and then today at 6:00 where their game tipped off against Iowa, they finally winded up losing that, a close one at that. It looked like they were going to be out of it completely in that first quarter. They climbed back in, give them credit, but they finally lost 89-85. So they were really missing Trey and Luka right now because Luka looked great in the bubble, in the Gubble, so
Gubble.
We'll go to you next, Ben. What did you think about Trey and Luka and their play in last night's loss?
First things first, if we're going to shout out irrationally confident people, I have to give a shout out to my guy, Gary Neal. Love that man. Will forever love that man. As far as Luka and Trey go, I hope Trey goes back to the Gubble. I think he needs it. And I when I profiled him last year, I specifically mentioned his shooting, and it had improved in his second year at Duke, but he was still a hesitant shooter. And now we're seeing that, as John mentioned. So that the Gubble, and maybe next year even the bubble, if it's not a bubble, just the G League, I think that will be the time for him to really work on that, become more comfortable in his shooting, because he has to be some sort of threat from beyond the arc in order to really unlock everything he can do. He's already a great defender. Like John said, he can distribute the ball well. He'll be able to do that better if he is a threat to shoot it, which he is not currently. For Luka, I also hope he stays with the Spurs, with San Antonio, for the remainder of the season, because I also want to see him get those minutes and get real legitimate NBA minutes get his confidence going. And I think it's going to depend on how well the Spurs do. And I think because the Spurs have so many back-to-backs in the second half of the schedule, I think he's going to get opportunities because guys are going to be rested and guys are going to be load managed. So I think there are opportunities for him to get more minutes and really show what he can do and show how comfortable he might be able to get at the NBA level. So that's what I'm hoping for those two this year. And a guy we're not really talking about right now who I thought was a pretty nice showing last night is Keita Bates-Diop. And, he might be a guy who takes minutes from Trey Lyles too, which is kind of nuts to me because Trey Lyles is in his second year in San Antonio, so he knows the system. He's familiar. He's comfortable. But for whatever reason, Popovich just doesn't play him very much. And I don't know why, because he's a decent rebounding big. He can shoot it from three. He defends at average, if not better. And he can handle it a little bit. He shouldn't be a point forward by any means, but he's a guy who knows what he's doing out there. So it's very odd to me that he's not getting more minutes.
It might just be Coach Pop wanting to go with the development of the youth, versus having minutes going to Trey Lyles, which is kind of a shame because you've seen what he was doing, when he was over there in the bubble, and then he had appendicitis, so we didn't get to see what the Spurs would have looked like with him, in that scenario. Because I believe if he was with the Spurs, maybe they could have, gone to the playoffs, but it just wasn't meant to be. They would have gotten knocked out first round. Let's be honest here, but at least maybe they would have made it. But coming into this season, Trey kind of struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season. You can attribute that to whatever you want. Maybe he just wasn't in game shape. Maybe he just wasn't in any type of rhythm. It takes a little bit, of time to get in rhythm, to get into that game shape again. And you kind of feel for the guy because he's done everything that the San Antonio Spurs have asked of him. You think at this point, him being a veteran at this point, he's not a rookie anymore. You think he would have done enough to get in the good graces of the Spurs coaching staff, but for whatever reason, it's one of these conundrums. Why doesn't he get more time out there? And it's going to be one of those head scratchers, I think, moving forward, that we're all going to be wondering what's going on here when he has an opportunity. Why isn't he getting the minutes? So we'll never know. We'll never know. One of the things I also want to talk about, I want to get you guys' opinion about. LaMarcus Aldridge was not in the starting lineup. And Coach Pop said, it's because he's coming back from injury. And, we want to see what he's got. He has to test it out. Pop, bro, come on now. Don't be feeding us that BS. You were trying to be sneaky about it, going around in a roundabout way. Hey, LaMarcus, come on. Do me a solid for tonight. Let me go ahead and let's get you off of the bench just to see what, go ahead and test that hip. See that you're 100%. If you're not feeling it, we'll bring you out of the game again. No. I think this is what the sneaky move. I think they're going to wind up switching him over probably to the bench is what I'm thinking. And that's going to be his role from now on. Because, come on. Even Pop knows the starting five are going to be better when LaMarcus isn't included on the floor with these starting five. He's better suited coming off the bench at this stage in his career. He's going to get his minutes. He's going to get his points. He's going to be able to produce and be productive for this team. I just think that it's a better fit for him coming off the bench. Pop is just doing it in a roundabout way, so I thought that was funny listening to what he was saying to the reporters after the game, post-game. But we'll go with you next, Ben. What do you think? Do you think Coach Pop is going to say, we're going to have LMA coming off the bench from now on, or is it just a one-off?
It might just be a one-off, but frankly, I think it would be great if he's coming off the bench and he's just beating up on dudes in the second unit. I think that would, I think it would be a huge plus net rating for that unit. And did you all see what he was doing to Isaiah Roby last night?
Yeah.
Bully
ball.
He's playing bully, but that's the LaMarcus Aldridge people wanted to see. you're backing your man down. You're getting to the cup and you're getting whatever you want. You're not letting a guy give you the forearm shiver and one forearm. Oh, I'm out and taking my mid range. Oh, I'm not going in there anymore.
He pushed his dude out of the way and he dunked the ball. He went for a baseline dunk. I said, no, he didn't.
He even let out the Keldon scream too.
I know.
That was probably out of pain.
He probably was his hip. Ah!
Oh, it's the last time I get up to do.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how many of those he's got left in him, but you like to see it nonetheless. What do you think, John? Going over to you now. You think it's going to be the norm for LaMarcus moving forward, or should it be the norm?
I think it should be the norm. I don't know if it will be. Pop, my favorite thing with Pop, he has to be really deep in thought on a very serious subject to stumble over his words. And yesterday when they asked him about that, of why is LaMarcus coming off the bench, he stumbled. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, that's different. That's not the Pop that is so eloquent and always so sure of himself when he's speaking. I get why he probably doesn't want to say, yeah, LaMarcus is coming off the bench from now on, because he's probably still tradable. There's probably still a scenario for him to get moved out there. You don't want to tank his value and say, yeah, he's going to be better for us coming off the bench, because that's the stage of his career that he's in now.
Yeah.
And I understand that part, but like Ben said, you want him beating up on those bench guys. It's the same way Rudy Gay's been so successful. It's like they smell a bucket on some of these younger, smaller guys that they can just go and attack.
They smell the fear.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if he can develop that, or if he can maintain that, it just does wonders for the bench unit, especially if Lonnie Walker can somehow get some of that, whatever the hell's in LaMarcus's water, going too. If those guys can do that, that bench unit can be really good. And the starting lineup is just going to be, I mean, the defense is great. Offense, I think Jakob is the only thing you really have to worry about. So, yeah, that would be great if they can if they keep him, keep him on the bench. But if you want to play this game and say, well, his hip, his shoulder, he's old, he hasn't played in a while, he needs to get his legs under him. Okay, Pop, we know.
We'll roll
wink, wink.
It.
Yeah, we understand. It's okay.
See, I'm not the only one that got that. When they asked him, it was Tom Orsborn of the Express News. When they went to him, he asked that question. I was like, "Whoa, Tom, okay."
Yeah,
that was
Tom went out there.
That was ballsy of Tom to go out there and ask him point blank. It's like, dude, I respect Tom. He wasn't gonna get yelled at or nothing by Pop or given the stink eye. But he kind of threw Pop for a loop because, like you said, usually Pop will answer the question. He'll be curt about it and then move on, and he just kind of like, well, what happened was, I'm like, oh, okay, there was a little something to that, he was maybe testing the waters, seeing what it would be like. What is life like with LMA coming off the bench? Life was good. You almost got a win with the bodies you had out there because he was coming off the bench. So moving forward, I think it's a good move for the Spurs, but if they're going to wind up doing it, just do it. You don't have to announce it. Just do it, and if people haven't...
Life is good, but it could be better.
It could... No, don't bring that evil on me. That movie was horrible, man. That movie was horrible. That's one of the stinkers of the year.
Great meme, though.
Yeah. It was just bad. Don't even get me started on that one. Why are you bringing up old stuff for, dude? I thought I was over that stupid Wishing Rock Wonder Woman 1984 nonsense. I'm like, come on now.
I'm sorry. I brought this evil on us, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, exactly, dude. But I just think it'd be better, conducive to the Spurs culture of winning, if they just bring him off the bench from this point forward, and not have to make an announcement. Just go with it. LMA is a former NBA, however you want to spin it, Pop. However you want to spin it. Former NBA All-Star. He's going to do whatever he has to do to make the team win. I don't care what you do. Just get this man off the bench from now on. However you want to spin it. But let's go ahead and talk about the Spurs schedule. Oh man.
Yikes.
Okay, this is where the wheels are coming off, Spurs fans. We're going to keep it real now. And keep it real. So what's going to happen in the 2020-21 season? COVID hit the Spurs pretty hard. They didn't play a game for, 9 or 10 days, something like that, because of the COVID-19 NBA protocols. So the league has to put those games in there somewhere. this schedule is not kind to the Spurs. If
at all.
At all. And we're looking the second half of the schedule. How many back-to-back games do we have here? 11? Is that what we counted? 11. So if the current trend continues, we know how the Spurs are on back-to-backs. They'll lose one, they'll win the first one, they'll lose the second one. Or they'll lose the first one, they'll win the second one. They never win both games. That's the trend that we've grown accustomed to from the beginning of the season. If this trend continues, this is a disaster for the team, because essentially what's going to happen is they're going to wind up missing the playoffs. It's not necessarily a bad thing, though. It's not the worst thing that can happen to this team. So we're going to go shoot to you, Ben, because you're going to have to pull the Spurs fans off the ledge and tell them why this is not necessarily a bad thing. Give it to me.
Fam. All right. Losing out on the playoffs is not the worst thing that could happen. This year's NBA draft is very good.
Really
there
good.
are lots of good lottery picks. There are even lots of good non-lottery picks. So if this was a year where the Spurs decided to make some moves in the draft, that would be great, because then they'd have options. If they move up in the draft, they could go out and get Jonathan Kuminga, who's been playing amazing in the Gubble for Team Ignite. If they keep their pick in whatever lottery it might be later in the draft, you could draft Corey Kispert, dead-eye shooter, having one of the greatest seasons in college basketball history as far as shooting goes. All right? There are options. Do not be so set on, oh, we have to make the playoffs.
It's playoffs or bust.
You don't have to be playoffs or bust. Listen, you're not. The Spurs are not in danger of turning into the Timberwolves. Okay, they're not in danger of turning into the Kings. Okay, the Spurs will be back in the playoffs sooner than both of those teams. That's not terribly bold of me to say. History's on my side here. All right. So be calm, carry on, and be a Spurs fan, and just enjoy the ride. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get some of that youth movement that we've really been wanting to see, and get LMA into the second unit. And weird and crazy things might happen this year. Just be excited.
I'm trying to be excited, because I know what's happening come the NBA lottery. If the Spurs continue the trend and they don't make the playoffs, they're setting themselves up to possibly be getting maybe a top 10 pick. Maybe they'll drop to 11 or 12. Either way, there's some quality players in this year's draft, even in the second round, Ben. So even if you don't get the guy you want in the first, there's still the second round. And the second round doesn't look too shabby either, So
deep draft.
It's a deep draft, exactly. So making the playoffs isn't the worst thing that can happen. It could actually be a blessing in disguise for this team, So you have that. The schedule is not kind. They're playing something like, what is it?
11 back-to-backs?
It's 11 back-to-backs. But
like 40 games in 60-something days.
40 games in 60
It's like a
days.
baseball schedule.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's a good one.
This is going to be brutal, man. I don't understand how they're going to be able to keep pace. I mean, they're going to have to rest people because they're going to just be gassed.
Oh.
You're going to have bodies falling out there on the court. So you're going to have to fake injuries or whatever they got to do to get some guys some rest, especially some of our veterans, like we got to protect them. Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, they've been playing great off the bench. They're not going to be able to keep up this pace. They're going to have to wind up missing some games. And if they miss games, either one of them, the bench isn't going to be what it normally is, So we're going to have to rely mostly on the starters. It's going to be one of those things that, one of these things that Coach Pop and his coaching staff are just like, they probably saw the schedule and they just threw it in the trash.
It's really bad too. Like
Darn it.
I think when we talked about it 2 weeks ago, they're like, hey, this is the chance for the Spurs to make their run with the rodeo road trip. They had like the second easiest schedule the rest of the way. Now they've got the fourth toughest schedule the rest of the way. And then you get I think they were trying to make light of it and say, well, hey, the Spurs have a 9-game homestand. Only 2 of the back-to-backs are in that 9-game homestand. Oh, and by the way, one of those back-to-backs is against the Clippers, who are playing out of their mind right now. So that should be fun. And then you get the Kings on the back-to-back. So that means De'Aaron Fox is probably going to score 40 in one game and 60 the next, the way the Spurs defense has been in. So I just this is like, at least with the other teams that went through COVID issues, they went through it early. Now the Spurs are going through it right before the All-Star break. So now not only are these guys out of game shape and recovering from COVID, but now you get to go play a whole half a season in about 2.5 months. Have fun.
I wish Chorro on Kawhi when he comes back here, man. I hope he gets a tainted taco or something.
This man.
Yeah. Hope he gets Chorro.
Starting to look a lot like Montezuma over there, Joel.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's going to be my birthday month, too, in March, so that's all I'm wishing for. Kawhi gets some Chorro.
Sick man.
You know he's going to order some carne asada, just leave it out in the sun for a little bit before you take it to the room, Give him that day-old meat. Put a roach leg or something in it, It's all good, man. He'll eat it.
Vomit now. Oh.
So we're going to go ahead and kind of move on here, and we're going to preview the next 2 games that are coming up for the San Antonio Spurs. The next games that they have, oh, man. We have the Pelicans, and let's be honest. The Pelicans really aren't a winning team at this point. They have a lot of promise, a lot of young talent. They just aren't producing. And like John said, shocker. But it doesn't mean nothing when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs are going to face Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans on Saturday. Tip is 7 p.m. I'm probably going to miss it because I'm going to be drunk. I'm going to be honest because I'm going to be watching UFC. So I'll have it on the small screen. But either way, what do you think is going to be the scenario with this game, John?
As long as Lonzo Ball doesn't put up 42, I think they should be okay. But I don't know who defends Brandon Ingram. I don't know who defends Zion. I'm just ready to take it on the chin in that game and just say, well, New Orleans isn't good. At least you don't really have to worry about them trying to push for a playoff spot unless they magically somehow click down the stretch, and especially in the second half. But I don't see that happening because guess what? The Pelicans never click at any point in their history since Chris Paul has left. So, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and they weren't the Pelicans back then.
It's the same thing. Come on.
Yeah, but it depends on what bodies are we going to get.
It's all about the name, John.
It's all about just watching Antonio Daniels color commentate over there because he has a lot of fun with the game. So
he's good people, dude. I like him.
He really is.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to you, Ben. If we have, what bodies are we going to wind up getting back for this game? Or is it going to be the same team that faced OKC?
I think Ben's playing.
Yeah, man. You can't
You
move.
need 6 fouls? I got you. Who do you need me to foul and how hard?
Not even a 10-day, just a 10-hour contract just for the game.
Yeah, just 10 Yeah, that's right. You pay me, call it $40 an hour, I'm in.
You're good for 6 fouls in 1 minute.
That's right. Absolutely.
Damn right you are.
I can absolutely do that for you.
I'll have your Gatorade.
I will instigate a fight and get someone thrown out if I have to.
I'll have your Gatorade waiting for you. I might put a little nip of whiskey in there for you, but
yeah, that might not be enough, Joe.
Or maybe the whole thing will be whiskey.
Let's not get carried away.
Some Jameson.
But,
well, anyway.
Well, I mean, I really don't know what bodies they're going to have back. I mean, the good thing is it's 3 days after their previous game, so maybe they get someone back, depending on how long they have to wait and the protocols and things like that. Yeah. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I'm willing to bet that guys won't come back until the Brooklyn game on March 1st.
Wow.
That'd be my guess.
I don't know. This game kind of scares me. This is one of the games that you think, okay, Spurs came off a loss against OKC. If they have the same team intact that went up against OKC, anything can happen. I'm not going to say, oh, the Spurs are going to win handedly. I don't know. I'm gonna have a big question mark on this game. If the Spurs win, that means that they are showing me something. If they have the same roster that faced OKC. If they get some bodies back, then that makes this game a little bit more winnable for them. So we'll just have to see what happens. We'll keep an eye on injury reports and see if they've already been cleared to play. So the next game after this one, though, is the Brooklyn Nets, and they're playing pretty damn good right now. And they're going to play the Spurs on Monday, March 1st with a 7:30 tip. I don't care even if they have a full roster. This is no bueno, John.
I don't even, that team, I get that their defense is bad, but that offense is just absurd. And I think it's historically absurd offensively. That's not just something where, maybe you let one guy get their fill and hope you can defend everyone else. You can't let anyone get their fill. And even the other night, I forgot who they played the other night, but then you had Bruce Brown, Lonnie Walker's teammate, who was drafted after him, by the way, put up 29 points and didn't even know he put up 29. He's looking at the scoreboard like, I did that? And then they asked him, why didn't you score 30? I didn't know. Yeah. So there you go. I don't know. Like I fear what Joe Harris is going to do when the Spurs overhelp and leave Joe Harris wide open in the corner. I fear James Harden dribbling around Patty Mills 200 times and then going to the bucket and drawing a foul. I fear Kevin Durant just completely abusing LaMarcus or Trey Lyles or whoever the hell the Spurs or Ben if he plays that game. So, yeah, and that's not even counting out Kyrie Irving, who I think dropped 57 against the Spurs one time in the AT&T Center. So, yeah, it's not fun. We're not going to have fun.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a pretty game. Who knows, though? The Spurs could surprise everybody and just wet the bed against the Pelicans and then come out and just totally dominate.
That would be what they do.
That makes the most sense.
Also, the way to beat Brooklyn is make Joe Harris shoot free throws.
There you go. Ben?
He must have one of the smallest disparities between his three-point percentage and his free throw percentage, which is absolutely embarrassing for a three-point shooter. He's like a 70% free throw shooter, and you're shooting 40-something from three. That makes no sense to me.
Maybe he's nearsighted, dude.
Okay.
That's a new one.
Okay.
That's a new one.
He's got cataracts or something.
Good
He can't see
Joe.
the rim. He can't see the rim.
He can only see it when he's 30 feet away.
Only 30 feet away. Exactly, dude. That's where you come in, Ben. Coach Pop gets you for that 10-day contract. You go in there and you foul him 6 fouls in 1 minute.
Worth it.
You're going to come out and you're going to be flexing.
Don't come near my three-point line. I'll give you the lane all day.
Be like Dikembe Mutombo, not in my house.
Oh, God.
So the one trap game, though, we're gonna just talk about briefly here as we close this out. The Knicks, March the 2nd. Dude, I don't even want to see this game because why is it that the Knicks, they have the Spurs number? The Knicks, I don't know what it is, but every time the Spurs go up against the Knicks just seem to take it to them, dude. I think this is a trap game again. It's a game that you think, oh, the Spurs are going to be able to win this easily. Better pump the brakes and look at the tape from the previous seasons because that was not the case. What do you think is going to happen in this game? We'll go with you, Ben.
I hate the Knicks. They're the worst. They're just the worst. Their fans are the worst. They don't deserve good things. They don't deserve nice things.
They don't deserve to win.
But, Julius Randle is playing incredibly well. Emmanuel Quickley has been really nice this year. They've got some pieces that are actually coming together, and you're starting to wonder, do I no longer hate the New York Knicks because they might be a competent team? What is happening? They haven't been competent in so many years. Why is this happening right now? I don't know. The Spurs, I don't even know if the Spurs should be favored in that game. I think, again, that's going to come down to who's available.
Yeah.
But who stops Julius Randle? Who's stopping Emmanuel Quickley right now? His floater game is insane. And Julius Randle is playing his best version of bully ball that he's played in a long time. And he's hitting shots and doing everything that they thought he's the guy they thought he would be in LA.
He is who we thought he would be.
Thank you. Yes. They are who we thought they were. If you want to crown them. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a pretty game at all. Whatever the outcome is, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, and I know what John's going to say, but John, let us have it, man. This next game, you know damn well it's a trap game. Don't even say it.
Hey, at least Tibbs is the coach, so all you have to do is score 90 points and hope. As an RJ Barrett fantasy basketball owner, let me just say, RJ Barrett is very good at scoring about 13 points, getting 8 rebounds, and shooting the ball about 28 times. So as long as that happens, maybe the Spurs will be okay. Otherwise, they don't have a chance. At least Mitchell Robinson's hurt, so Jakob doesn't have to worry about trying to body all 180 pounds of Mitchell Robinson. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. Hopefully Tibbs goes full Tibbs and just plays Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson for about 45 minutes and forgets that he has young, good players on his team like he always does.
Hey, Mitchell Robinson may only weigh 180 pounds, but he's got 15 feet of wingspan if you're not careful.
That he does. Hey, Derrick Rose has been okay for the Knicks in spurts.
Not bad, yeah.
Yeah, in little spurts. He's still got...
That's about a compliment.
Yeah, he's got some game left in him. Still got a little magic there. Here and there. Watch him go for 30 against the Spurs. That's what I'm afraid of.
Don't say that.
Don't you put that evil on us, sir.
At least he's the one starting now and don't have to worry about Alfred Payton doing that. Because if Alfred Payton does it, that's a whole different story.
You've got greater issues.
But can't you see Derrick Rose after the game crying, I still got it, 32 points, and be like, why? Why against the Spurs, Oh, it is what it is. But we'll go ahead and bring this to an end so Ben can go and pig out and eat some birthday cake and possibly have a birthday stogie.
Yes, the good stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to close this out now, but where can they go ahead and see all the good stuff that you have coming out of the pipe in regards to prospects, Ben?
You can find all of the good stuff at projectspurs.com. Real quick, pop shout out right here. He had to come in, couldn't resist. Gotta love the cameos, guys. You didn't even have to pay for that one.
I can see where you get your good looks from.
Sure. That's what we'll call them. But I got the next prospect I got coming out is Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky. Sneaking up boards a little bit. He's been playing really well the last couple weeks. And you can find me on Twitter at @the_Bornstein as usual.
Oh, there you go. Make sure you follow Ben also on Twitter and check out projectspurs.com for all the great articles that he has coming out. He's one of the best in the business when it comes to prospect watch. So go and check out Ben. And again, happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, happy 28th again. And look, we have another cameo.
Yes.
So, John,
He's been sitting at my feet the whole time, so I had to.
Yeah, there you go. Well, John, where can they follow you and where can they see all the stuff that you have coming out for Project Spurs?
By John Diaz on Twitter, as always, right? Right? No? Okay. Yeah, he's a big fan. And obviously, Forever Toros, our podcast on the Spurs cast feed covering the Austin Spurs. We're recording tomorrow because we were going to record today and then realized Austin plays. So we were obviously not too focused on basketball after what happened with the San Antonio Spurs last night.
Yeah.
But we will be recording that tomorrow. That episode should drop soon. And we'll talk about Luka and Trey more and obviously other Austin Spurs players that aren't part of the organization and maybe how the Spurs can trade LaMarcus Aldridge for Bob Woodard from Sacramento.
Oh, Lord.
And try to get all these prospects.
It's happening. It's already happening.
What are you doing, honestly? You're interrupting the show. You're ruining everything.
He's the star. He's the star.
Yeah, he really is. Apollo, look at the camera. No? Okay, good talk. So, yeah, but keep on the lookout for that. And obviously, Project Spurs for all our stuff. Oh.
I think you should take a picture of the dog and have that as your new Avi.
No, because all the people that have, like, the dog Avies are just, like, I don't want to say it. I can't say that loud. It's all the kind of people that have the dog Avies in their stuff.
Oh, man. All right, so make sure you go and follow John and check out Forever Toros. They got good stuff going out over there with both Michael DeLeon and Jonas Clark, and of course John Diaz here. Yeah, that's a great podcast. And also check out the Spurs Cast with Paul Garcia. I hear they have some good stuff coming out too. Him and Colin, maybe they can get Mike in there, and and he can do his thing too. So that's interesting as well. So make sure you go and check them out. They always have good stuff. And you can also check me out at Two Shots Podcast. I'm on the Twitters, like the kids say. Check me out, Two Shots Podcast. It's not the number 2, but spelled out TWO. Two Shots Podcast. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and we also will have the replay of this Spurs Rewind live stream on ProjectSpurs.com. So make sure you check them out for all the latest and greatest when it comes to San Antonio Spurs basketball. For John Diaz and Benjamin Bornstein, a.k.a. the birthday boy, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Spurs Rewind. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate. Be kind. We're out. Peace.